From the beautiful state of Jefferson, near the foothills of Northern California, a state of mind, if not a state in fact. Welcome to Fireside Chats. Tonight, we're going to have a fireside chat about the internet. The internet is glorious and horrifying. So, let's go ahead and get into it. When I was a child, I had a bookcase full of World Book encyclopedias. We always had full bookshelves, and I'd spend hours flipping back and forth through these encyclopedias, and I would go down the kind of rabbit trails that we go down on the internet. But the internet has something that those books didn't, and that's the ability to connect with other folks. And that mainly is the glorious and horrifying part of the internet. Still trying to find my voice here on this channel, Fireside Chats, and I'm still deciding whether or not I want to set up a webcam and do these video and audio, or just stick with this podcast format. I have no doubt that this channel could become extremely successful if that was what I wanted to do. It's like any other endeavor. If you're working out, it's something that you don't see the results for immediately. You just have to take it one day at a time, and over time, eventually you'll get fit. And the same is true with this. If you do videos and you have relatively good content and it resonates with people, word will spread, and you'll have eventually a successful channel. So I have no doubt that maybe in 2 or 3 years, if I continue doing this, that this would be a channel that's worthwhile. So I have no doubt that it could be successful. Now, the internet being glorious and horrifying, yes, I mean, if I have something to say and something to contribute, absolutely, I want to continue doing it. Yeah, but then we have the horrifying aspect of it, and we covered that a little bit in my very first webcast, Cyberbullies, Whackadoodles, and Nutjobs, where we talked about an off-color social media comment that resulted in, due to the actions of a mentally ill, obese woman, this nurse, Faith Linthicum, being fired from Kaiser Permanente. And the the offending comment was that here in my hometown of Sacramento, we had a police shooting, and those are getting a lot of press. And I guess you could say that's one of the glorious and horrifying things about the internet, is that 30 years ago, it would just be happenstance and off chance you would catch a case of police brutality. And now with the proliferation of social media, smartphones, shareable digital media, we can see more of when this happened. So, long story short, she made a comment, and the comment that she made on social media was Stefan Clark, the name of the person that was killed, deserved to die. And these whackadoodles, these nutjobs, these cyberbullies, they didn't say, "Hey, Faith, what did you mean?" They didn't say, "Oh, that's a little harsh, isn't it?" Nope. Here's what they did. They did a screenshot. They posted it to their little activist websites, and they contacted her employer. And Kaiser, if they had spent just 5 minutes looking at the wackadoodle that started the whole thing, and I don't mean Faith, I mean the mentally ill obese woman, whose name is Christina Arachiga, if they'd spent 5 minutes looking at her page, they would have discovered that she was mentally unhinged, a racist, very intolerant, some really racist things against white people on her social media, and videos of her getting into fights with police officers while she was pregnant. Completely unhinged nut. So that is the glorious and horrifying nature of the internet. And I have been doing some pretty vanilla G-rated webcasts, actual videos on my business page. And, if I'm looking for affiliates or that kind of thing, not to get too far into the weeds on that stuff, but or building my network, it helps for people to see who you are and what you're about. For potential clients that are looking you up, that kind of stuff helps too. Now, what doesn't help is when you get drama from people like that. And part of what inspired me to go live on this topic, I was already thinking about it, but one of the YouTubers that I admire and whose YouTube channel that I watch, Gary Beekler at the Nerdrotic YouTube channel. Well, one of these whackadoodles tracked him down through social media, tracked his wife down on social media, and cyberbullied, one-starred her business over some of the content that Gary had made regarding his displeasure with the Game of Thrones Season 8 and some of the recent Game of Thrones episodes. I haven't seen what the context of the Yelp one-star review was, but it seems that there is enough information that it was known that this person thought that Gary was a sexist, apparently in the Yelp review. So here's the thing. That person is a coward, but somebody that's wanting to do business and they see something like that on Yelp, even if they disagree with the sentiment, they're going to say, well, there's too much drama here. I'm not going to do business with that person. And that fucks with their business. And particularly when you're going after spouses, children, that kind of thing. Tucker Carlson of Fox News, they hate mobbed his house. And his wife had to hide and get police protection because these people gathered outside and went to his house and harassed them. So that's one of the reasons I haven't gone audio and video on this channel yet. In the last social media blow up that I had, it cost me about $30,000. And while I make a decent living, my income is sporadic. And so what usually happens is 1 or 2 months, no income. Then third month, big check. And then, it could be a little check, could be no check. And that's how it works. And when that happened to me, $30,000 is not a little amount of money. It's a lot of money. And the comment that I had made was basically in my hometown of Sacramento, as in many places, we have issues with homeless. And so my comment, somebody had posted online, and it showed a tent city. It was along the river. It was coming from a leftist kind of place where they were saying, there's people living along the river. It's bad for the environment. There's human feces. There's needles. There's trash. It's getting into the river. It's polluting the river. And so I made a comment that was, and I thought it was a joke. And some people think, when I tell them the story, some people think it's funny and some people go, ooh. But they said, what do we do about the homeless? And I'm not going to repeat the joke here because even when I tell people this story, some of them go, ooh, after I tell them what the comment was. And some people laugh their asses off on it. So, but in any case, the gist of it was that they were taking it seriously, thinking that I was advocating violence against homeless people. And I went in this thread several times and I said, no, I'm not advocating violence against homeless people. I have sympathy for their plight, but you can be poor and you can be down on your luck, and you can still have respect for people. And nobody wanted to hear it, or eventually the homeless rights activist heard it, and we had it settled in the thread. They un-one-starred my businesses, but nobody read that part. And the thread kept going, and then more of these assholes piled on. And, I had a couple of big clients who were just getting ready to sign the deal, and it's like, sorry, it's just too much drama. Well, one of them, the one that actually called me back, said sorry. The other two just, didn't return my phone calls, and I could see they went with somebody else. But that's fine. But honestly, if it takes a hit to my income, because at this time I'd had close to the maximum numbers of friends on Facebook, and I had a pretty decent-sized social media presence. So I only have about 50 friends now on my new account. But I am actually willing to have a lower income in order to have the freedom to be able to have a platform to say what I want to say. And here's the thing, I was one of the more moderate, reasoned voices on the internet. And they silenced me. So the internet is there's just what's right with the internet? The human factor. Connecting with amazing people and getting amazing content that you wouldn't have gotten elsewhere. The interaction. I'll give you an example of something that happened today that I would describe as, there's. So I'm a big fan of this YouTube channel called Anti-Trekker, with Michael J. Crawford as the anti-trekker. Guy's got an amazing sense of humor, and I happen to agree with him on a lot of his opinions. And when I don't agree with him, it's like, I have a good debate with him on understanding where he's coming from. And so he was playing this game where he's out in space, and one of the characters, he had been affiliated with another YouTuber that I won't name, but this other YouTuber who also is a big trekker, and I like the other YouTuber's trek content, but unfortunately, the guy's a bit of a hardliner on some of his political beliefs, and he will personally attack people that don't share his specific political beliefs, and he routinely blocks people. This other trekker YouTube channel. And so one of the characters, I guess, that was in there, or in the video game, an avatar. It wasn't even the person. It was just basically like an avatar in a spacesuit. And so he was lost in space, and we all kind of joked that he should that he should do something with the avatar, and everybody had a good time, and it was a good-natured ribbing, but it wasn't attacking in the real world. If you have a beef in the cyber world, it should stay in the cyber world, and it should be on the platform that the so-called offending comment was in. So I will say this about my cyberbullying incident where I was cyberbullied by these homeless people. That was someone else's platform. That was the platform, the page of of this so-called digital marketing expert / anti-cyberbullying advocates page. And so what really irked me about that was that in my case with these homeless people was that the anti-cyberbullying advocate used his platform to say, well, this is the exception. This guy's an asshole. Never use him. instead of saying, hey guys, chill out. So, got to practice what you preach. And I blocked him and everything, and this was over a year ago now. This is like 13 months ago. I did come across and see that, well, about a week, 2 weeks after that incident happened, then he had a reasoned approach and made a very good video about how not to do that kind of thing. But you know what? That had already cost me $30,000. So thanks for nothing, dude. But anyhow, so I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with this channel, and some of the glorious and horrifying things that I've seen that inspire and just revolt me. I was going down. Mondays and Tuesdays are usually my days off, but I did work today, and I worked yesterday as well. Today is Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday. So I was watching on YouTube these because I'm always looking for ideas, and I don't know if people want to hear me talk or not. Apparently 24 people want to hear me talk, which is amazing. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you for listening. So there's this travel channel that where this couple sold everything they had, and they went to live in Mexico. And they're going to these small beach towns. They're just doing all this really cool stuff. And it was pretty fascinating. And it was so inexpensive that on this platform, YouTube, I mean, it paid the bills. They were paying, I think, like $325 for a studio apartment that was like 5 minutes away from the beach. And it was really interesting. It looked like they looked like the happiest people I've ever seen in my life. And then I went through this whole little rabbit hole on the internet, and I came across this other poor guy. I mean, he was a dreamer, somebody that had been brought to the United States as a young boy, and he had been deported after living there for 14 years. And he did this video, this vlog, really talking about this stream of consciousness that was just like amazing. Not barely a hint of an accent, and he's just like talking about his first plane ride ever, and and thank goodness for this kid, he had family down there, so he wasn't just like kicked over the border and beat the shit out of like a lot of these guys are. And it was just like he's talking about getting off the plane and seeing like only brown people and how that made him uncomfortable, and how he has to totally learn anew about his home country because he didn't remember anything. And that just like blew my mind. And so stuff like that, I mean, just get this raw stuff that you don't see on the news, these stories that are just amazing. And it blows my mind. And I just think, wow, I would love to have amazing content like that. And I don't know. I just talk about being cyberbullied, and this guy had his whole life flipped upside down. He keeps plugging along. So it's glorious and horrifying, but life is glorious and horrifying. But one day I would like to be rich enough to be poor enough to travel. That would be pretty cool. So maybe that's something I'll look into, because as I focus on things, I know you're supposed to, when you're self-employed, once something goes through and you get paid, that's really the time to really start plugging away. If you're in sales, to do that. And sometimes I just want to take my big wad of cash and just fuck off for about 6 weeks, for being completely honest. But trying to equalize that out. When you're self-employed, sometimes figuring that stuff out takes a while. And sometimes you just need to break up the routine. And so YouTube as a business, Yeah, I mean, this is really going to be a hobby for me for a really long time. But it is. It's fascinating. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the fact that people can make their voices heard. I just mentioned the anti-Trekker and Nerdrotic. Well, I had been watching Star Trek Discovery like those two had. And then I also, of course, want to shout out Trek Yards because they nerd out just the way everyone else does, and I think the general consensus is that Discovery is not good Trek. But I was just kind of surprised how many people defended it. And it's just not a good show. And so, do I want to do more reviews? I think what I want to do is keep doing a little bit of everything, and then just depending on where the views go, maybe I'll split off and do like Fireside reviews at some point. Have Fireside chats as more of a channel about these kinds of topics. More stream of consciousness, current events, pop culture. When I did my my post on racism a few days ago, or more accurately, the dialogue, I got trolled in the chat, and that was a little disconcerting. See, I wouldn't even be able to manage a camera and try and manage the chat, and I actually had to ban my first person, so that was interesting. And then I think somebody down thumbed me on that one, but the question asked on that one was, can we have a reasoned debate, conversation? And apparently on that topic, the answer is no. So that's unfortunate because it is an important one. And the internet should be a place for people to be exposed to different ideas, different perspectives. As should the world. We need to really listen to one another a lot more than we do, instead of yelling at each other. But yeah, so it's just trying to find my voice and figuring out what I want to do. I'd like to do, believe it or not, some cooking show or two if I'm going to go on the webcam. I was thinking about doing a 15-second segment, Bachelor Kitchen, ramen, and the whole segment would be just unpeeling the ramen package, opening up the flavor packet and dumping it on, and then eating the ramen. Thought that'd be funny. But yeah, I mean, that's the horrifying thing about this internet, is that you'll get a whackadoodle or a nutjob or these Parker Mankey types. We did a video on Parker Mankey, where a gentleman was wearing a MAGA hat, and just to recap that one, this mentally ill woman with a mohawk had basically, she called the guy a Nazi, took pictures of him, doxed him, and the guy was trying to tell her, he took his hat off and he said, "I'm not a Nazi," and it revealed a yarmulke underneath the MAGA hat. And this lady left and came back and tried to incite the whole Starbucks to bully this man. So, yeah, I don't know what you can do when you have people like that. I don't look around and look for enemies, and I don't understand people that do. I think it says more about them than it does about the people that they're attacking. And Parker Mankey, by the way, lost her job. I hope whatever happens with Nerdrotic's wife, that person gets gets the justice that's dealt to them. See, here's the thing. If you have someone that does that and they have a job and they've tried to affect your income adversely, well, then there's leverage that you can use. For example, in my case, I had someone that was a union negotiator for SEIU 1000 that just went after me and one-starred me and did all this shit on Facebook and sent me some nasty comments while he was on company time, and I filed a police report, and I sent those he screenshotted me, and you can Photoshop my head on on the tips of dicks and Photoshop Donald Trump hair on me all you want, but I know that his employer sure didn't appreciate finding out that he was doing that stuff on company time. And by the way, for a brief time, I was a member of SEIU 1000. And they are completely fucking worthless. So, if you are in state service and you have a psychopathic boss, I swear to God, and this will probably seem misogynistic, but half the women supervisors that work for the state of California must have DNA from the Buchenwald bitch because they are psychotic. So if you have a psychotic boss like that, send me a message with your email on the chat, and I'll get in touch with you and tell you how to deal with that situation, because the union is not going to help you. Anyway, but for this person, he was actually a union negotiator is actually a rather high-profile job, so I was surprised that someone would do something so stupid. On the other hand, he was a union negotiator for SEIU 1000, so makes sense. But yeah, that kind of stuff happens, and if you're going to do that, see, if it's I can't think of a circumstance where that makes a lot of sense, where you're going to go after someone's income, unless it's a pretty egregious crime. I mean, if you've got somebody on camera taking a shit on your front porch, and you have identified them, maybe you might want to dox them. I don't know. I would probably just find out who they are and make a police report myself. But if an opinion causes you to go harass someone's spouse on social media, so here's the etiquette for the internet. Don't leave a review for a business you haven't fucking used. And here's what the cyber-bullies and whackadoodles said. Oh, I want everybody to know your character, and that matters. I was like, character for what? I made a joke on social media. And so I don't know what happened. I don't know the text of the 1-star review, that Yelp review that Nerdrotic's wife had received, but I can tell you what the text of the ones that I received were. And again, people will be put off by the drama because unhinged, mentally ill people will be leaving comments. And so they won't want to work with you for that reason. But if you're looking at the actual merit in the text of the comment, if you're running a restaurant, a salon, a delivery service, and somebody says, don't use them. Don't use them. Their spouse made misogynist comments about Game of Thrones. Like, what the fuck? If you're a customer reading that, And here's the thing. Although I did lose business when I had that happen to me, one of my clients found it hilarious. Hilarious that there are mentally ill people like that out there. So, I don't know. Be careful on the internet these days. You do that to someone, you take their income away, and if it gets to a point where they have a lot less to lose than they did before, you got to expect that stuff to come back to you. And there might be other people that see things that are offended by these below the belt attacks on social media. I'll recap again if anybody didn't hear it on my very first webcast, Cyberbullies, Whackadoodles, and Nutjobs. But on my first one, this was during Barack Obama's farewell address. This was a well-known community activist. And my post was on my page. And I'll tell you what the text of that post is. And keep in mind, I didn't vote for Trump or Hillary. I actually voted for Gary Johnson in 2016. Although Trump has won me over on some things, trade, I think he's doing some much needed things on trade. Moving on. So Barack Obama did things I didn't agree with. He expanded the wars. He bailed out the banks. Operation Fast and Furious. Eric Holder, Attorney General Holder, for the banks. Too big to jail was a big one. He would start an investigation. So, federal fraud, 3 years from the date of discovery. So he said, oh, we think there's fraud, and here's what the fraud is. And he started the discovery clock. And then 3 years later, oh, the statute of limitations ran out. We can't do anything about it now. And so for many reasons, I was displeased with Barack Obama. And I said, there are people cheering him on, and he has this, great rhetoric, man, really good rhetoric. And I said, it looks like a Hitler rally. And so this community activist screenshotted my comment that was restricted on a friends-only list and didn't comment on my comment. He was one of my friends at the time. He didn't ask for clarification, didn't tell me he was doing this. He screenshotted it and posted it on his wall. And that turned into quite the shitstorm. Not as bad as the second one, I don't think. But yeah, I got death threats for 2 days. I had my business one-starred. I had just a complete shitstorm. And I had to file a police report against multiple people on that one. I had to appeal the one-star reviews on my Facebook business page. Apparently there's a way for people to do it anonymously. One of them I couldn't get off, so my rating went down from 5 stars to like 4.5 stars or something like that. And it was pandemonium. It was insanity. But what was interesting was that it started a shitstorm with people in the comments. And someone in those comments had private messaged me some personal information, dirt, about the community activist. And I said, well, and this community activist, by the way, was, drumroll, an anti-bullying advocate and consultant. He got paid to consult on anti-bullying. What the fuck? So anyway, moving on here. So I got sent some personal information, and things were just, I was like, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's dirt and it's somebody's personal life, and I just don't want to get into that. And like, hey, I have, and say, hey, some of my stuff got out there too, just so we're being completely honest. I've done some things I'm not quite proud of. Try to get 10 years away from any really majorly stupid thing I've done, but unfortunately, Yeah, I think I've got 3 pretty big ones in the last 10 years. But anyway, moving on. Although, you know, this might be considered, it depends on your perspective. But when you're married, hey, you know, I mean, he is married and I'm not. So whatever he's doing, that's involving another person. So I got this piece of personal information that was quite detailed. Like, I don't need to know all that. And there was a name of an organization named. And I didn't know he had anything to do with this organization. But a couple of weeks later, he did a fundraiser. And he was doing a fundraiser at that organization where some of this alleged activity had occurred. So, I don't know. You want to start throwing stones at people, you better be ready for the consequences, because it may not just be against that one person you're targeting. And I will say this, especially in the case of this community activist, whoever you are out there, if what you said is true, then you should probably contact the police about that, because that is highly inappropriate. So, yeah, I better thank the lucky stars that I didn't spread that information, because it certainly, I mean, the organization and the access that he had for the, yeah, I'm not going to go any further. I'm not going to go any further. Just to say that when you put that kind of negative energy out into the universe and you attack someone else, you better be pretty damn clean yourself, because what goes around comes around. I have a feeling it'll be coming around on him sooner or later. So, yeah, the internet is glorious and horrifying. And, yeah, I'm not sure where I want to take this channel in the near future. But, see, at least on my somewhat business-related videos, when I do a vlog and it's about life, the video portion I'm pretty happy with. I've got a pretty nice studio set up now. I've got a large curtain that goes across my den area where I film them, and I've got a pretty nice webcam. I use the Logitech C922. I'm on the sound. I've got this the Blue Yeti blackout mic, and I've got some pretty decent backlighting and the front lighting pretty well dialed in. Against the back of the curtain, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I think it would really lend itself. And when I do those videos, you see, when I gesticulate and my facial expressions, I think that really helps the videos in a way that maybe the audio only doesn't. So I don't know. I was thinking about just going, when I do a live stream, to do the live stream with the webcam, downloading the video, converting maybe the file into either an MP3 and then just doing a title card and splicing in if I have video clips in the editing software, and just having it look like the rest of my videos. And that way, if you tune in live, you'll be able to see me there. It'll be just like an added bonus, a thank you for tuning in live, or, you know, this is me unmasked, or whatever it is. It's a fascinating time to be alive. And, you know, I recently did my live stream on, I did a review of Pump Up the Volume that starred Christian Slater. I was so damn proud of that review. But, yeah, it only got like 3 views. Which is kind of mind-blowing, because that was an amazing movie that says so much about the times that we are living in now. And it's funny, I actually saw an interview with Christian Slater where he was talking about how that was one of his proudest pieces of work. Well, that and his cameo in Star Trek 6. But, yeah, and he was talking about it, and he said, well, he said, yeah, there is one difference between now and then. He said, in those times, if you fired up a shortwave radio, you actually had an audience. He said, now if you fire up a podcast, nobody's going to be watching. So I think there might be some truth to that, at least at this stage in this channel's development. And for anybody that may be listening right now, I certainly appreciate you listening to this webcast. It's therapeutic for me. It's cathartic, not lethargic, cathartic. And I think one thing maybe that I was hoping for in watching what's happening with these other YouTubers is that hearing the tonality of my voice and perhaps down the road seeing my facial expressions, that leaves a lot less misinterpretation and and things being taken out of context. And instead, what my fear is that instead there's going to be video clips spliced together out of context, and it'll just make me look like a bigger douche. So, would I be able to take the heat of doing that? Would I be able to have a channel with 10,000 subscribers, with 50,000 subscribers, with 100,000 subscribers? I don't know. That's a lot of spotlight, and when I was a kid, we had an exercise that we did, and it was, would you rather be rich, or you had to have, it was a choice. It was an either or choice. Would you rather be rich, or would you rather be famous? And I would rather be rich than be famous, to be honest with you. But obviously, the human condition, it lends itself to wanting attention. So, partially I'm doing this to be cathartic, but also, am I secretly an attention whore? Is what I'm asking myself. Because eventually, what happens with every other, when something blows up, either good or bad, most of the time, especially in these types of forums, it happens when you're not expecting it. So, I just think I'm barking into the wind right now. Nobody's listening. Nobody's hearing. And then something that I say will resonate to someone, and it'll be something that I don't even think is funny, probably, or interesting, because that's also how it works. And that's what's going to get the attention, and you'll have people that'll get it twisted, and then there'll be this big back and forth debate on there, and I'll want to get in and respond to every comment, and then people will, it'll be crazy. I mean, I can see why Doomcock resides in the center of the earth. I can see why. Might not be a bad place to be. Should ask him if he wants a roommate. Maybe I can hang out in Harvey's cage. I don't know. At least it's warm down there, right? Although I do wonder if I do wonder where he gets the newspaper to line Harvey's cage, though. That's when you're at the center of the earth. That's got to be a little bit difficult. So yeah, I mean that, or if I don't do a webcast, see, I don't know. I don't know if I can put it all out there like that. That's one of the things that inspires me somewhat. That is inspiring and kind of makes me thicken my skin a little bit, is that Nerdrotic is out there, and he's mentioned some things about his past, and we all have skeletons and we all have demons, and well, he promised he would tell those at like 50,000 subscribers, and I'm at 24 right now, guys. One more subscription, maybe I'll tell you about it. I've got some whoppers. And here's the thing about doing embarrassing stuff or stupid stuff. Well, here's a few things about it. So, number one, if the last time someone saw you was when you did that stupid or asshole-ish thing, that's the last thing that they remember. And so that is going to be the thing that they associate with you. So it's not like, I've done the Tony Robbins and I walked on fire and, I got my head out of my ass and I'm a different person. They're not going to care about any of that stuff. If that's something that, this person hurt me, or this person was an asshole, or whatever it is. I've definitely had my asshole-ish moments, unfortunately. A different man now. And so, yeah, one of the travel video, that travel video with that couple that was in Mexico, Tangerine. What is that? Tangerine Dream. Hold on. I think it's Tangerine Reviews. It's a good channel, so I want to give them a shout out if I can, even though by far they don't need me. It's like they don't need me at all. Tangerine Travels. Yes, that's what it is. So that couple, they were talking about the dark side of YouTube, and they were talking about trolling people, trolling you on your page, and people that may have known you. Like they said, if you've got any secrets, they're going to come out, and people will troll us on our appearance. They told the girl that her boobs were showing too much, and I guess some other things. I think that was the main criticism that she didn't like. But people will criticize your appearance, and if you say things a certain way or you make a certain comment, that can be ridiculed, or they'll make a comment about it and you'll become self-conscious about it, and then you'll become self-conscious about every little thing that you do. And I'm just like, wow. It's like, that's crazy. And yet, for some reason, I kind of want the attention. And I don't know why. Because I'm much more of an introvert than an extrovert. And what's interesting is when this couple, Tangerine Travels, when they made the video, they said, we're much more introverts than extroverts. They said people will recognize you, they'll come up to you, and they see us on camera. And just an aside here, when I was doing my videos for my business, like the first thing people said was, get a mic. You sound like you're talking into a toilet. I don't mind constructive criticism like that. And then another one said, and then like the next big criticism I got was, smile more, smile more. And so this couple, they were talking about that. They were like, yeah, we smile and we look like we're super bubbly on the internet. But really, we're introverted and we're reserved people. And like, hey, I'm out walking to get some coffee or walking the dog in the morning, and I'm just not wanting to talk to anybody. And so I'm grateful and thank you so much for watching the show. And I'm really, it's very nice and I appreciate it. But, please know, if you catch me in the morning before I've got my coffee, I'm not going to be cheerful. And, even without being on the internet, I had one time, like 10, 15 years ago, I was at like FedEx Kinko's, and I think I must have had some bad Mongolian barbecue or something. And by the way, Mongolian barbecue is just like a 50-50 shot of getting food poisoning. So, it just goes with the territory. You assume the risk when you get Mongolian barbecue. But anyway, I was in the FedEx Kinko's, and I was just like, I ran past somebody that I knew, that I'd worked with in the past, and they were just like, you ran right past me, and they were so offended. I was like, and like I couldn't even get a word in edgewise to even let them know that hey man, I had to run to the bathroom to take a shit. I was getting ready to shit my pants. I didn't even get the opportunity to do that because they were just so offended that I didn't acknowledge them. And it's like, and to have that kind of phenomenon happen, if my face became well known, I don't know if I could handle it. And also in my business, if people are looking into, I don't know. I don't know if I want that scrutiny. Somebody will come across something and then they'll look into my big data webcast where I talked about online dating and hookup culture. I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want a prospective client looking, being able to match my name and face with all that stuff. I think it's compelling. I think it's a good question to ask. It's certainly, I thought it was a quality webcast, but is that when somebody's purchasing a really big ticket item through me, is that something I want them to be listening to? Yeah, and connecting one with the other, I don't know. I think maybe I need to dip the toe a little bit more on the business channel into those types of subjects. I think I would say do a quip here and there, but you know the internet. You have people that are going to one-star your business because they've taken something out of context. Fucking idiots can't even ask a question. Oh, did you mean this? Or, hey, I didn't appreciate your comment. Whatever it is, it's just, yeah. I mean, I guess I don't mind constructive criticism. I just, I don't know. The comments on my appearance, I think that would really, I don't know. If somebody told me I had a receding hairline, or that I had gray hair, or had a mole in a weird spot, I would probably, I don't know. I will say one thing. The videos I have done have encouraged me to go to the gym. So I guess I'm talking out loud here with my thoughts on the internet being glorious and horrifying, on whether or not this is something that what this is going to become. Food for thought. Well, folks, if there is anyone here, that's what I wanted to talk about. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. This has been Fireside Chats. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for great content from the beautiful state of Jefferson, near the foothills of Northern California. A state of mind, if not a state in fact. This has been Fireside Chats. See ya.